during my college years, I encountered a spine-chilling part-time job experience. One day, I saw a recruitment ad online for a job that involved moving cargo, offering a high hourly wage with daily pay, which attracted me. I immediately called them, and they asked me to come for an interview the next day. The interview location was in a commercial building in the United States that was about to be abandoned. As I walked in from the first floor, all the shops were closed, leaving only echoes in the emptiness. Rounding a corner, I found the hidden office, its sign having lost all its color. I rang the doorbell, and a muscular man with a stern look opened the door. Despite his intimidating appearance, his words were surprisingly polite. Inside the makeshift office, he quickly introduced the job to me and asked if I could start immediately. Despite sensing potential danger, the lure of money made me hesitate, but I eventually agreed. The next day, I arrived on time at the meeting spot, which was a supermarket located in a remote corner. After meeting with the uncle, we bought lunch and then got into an ordinary-looking van. We drove along secluded country paths towards the deep forest and stopped near a cliff. The other two men in the van took out a heavy box, and the uncle ordered us to deal with it quickly. The moment we opened the box, we were hit by a nauseating smell of rot and sewage mixed with a scent of blood, almost suffocating me. Despite our suspicions, we did as instructed, throwing the box along with the mysterious black plastic bags inside it off the cliff. After the job was done, the uncle cautioned us in a voice as cold as a dead man's never to reveal a single detail about the work. He gave us each a large sum of cash afterward, and we returned to the city in the quiet of the night. He dropped me off at a subway station, promising that there would be more work opportunities in the future. Since then, I've never received any messages from that man, nor have I tried to contact him. Weeks later, when I was in urgent need of money again, I tried to contact the previous phone number, only to be greeted by sporadic voice notifications telling me that the number was no longer in service. To this day, I am still in the dark about what exactly that mysterious part-time job had me deal with, but I guess anyone could imagine that it must indeed involve an unspeakable secret. This story happened while I was working at a convenience store in Philadelphia, USA. During the night shift, the store was always very quiet. I would spend time with a senior colleague in the back room, leisurely flipping through comics and magazines to pass the time. On an ordinary night, while munching on snacks and chatting, we talked about the sparse customers appearing on the monitor. The surveillance screen was divided into 4 segments. 2 covered the cash register area, 1 aimed at the accessories counter, and another at the books and magazines section. As I casually glanced over, I suddenly noticed a woman standing in the magazine area. Her long hair extending to her waist made her stand out. Oddly, the doorbell hadn't rung at her arrival. Although my colleague sensed something unusual, he didn't pay too much attention to it. We continued our casual talk, but no matter how much time passed, the woman seemed never to move. I thought she might be browsing through magazines, but on closer inspection, she wasn't picking anything up, just staring fixedly at the shelves. "Hey, do you think that woman's planning to steal something?" My colleague speculated with a mix of guesswork and concern. I harbored the same doubt, so we decided to check. I walked towards the shelves, while my colleague stayed near the cash register just in case. When we reached the shelves and exchanged glances, to our amazement, there was no one there. Just then, the sound of a toilet flushing came from a distance. "Weird. Did she go to the bathroom?" My colleague muttered under his breath. With lots of questions in our minds, we returned to the back room. Back in front of the screen, cold sweats ran down our foreheads. The woman still stood there, staring at the shelves just like before, as if she had returned to her spot even before us. But why did she return to the same pose? Was it a malfunction of the monitor? We headed towards the shelves again, and once more, the woman was nowhere to be found. Another chill swept over us, and we silently returned to the back room, the first thing being to check the state of the monitor. Gone. My colleague's mutter revealed a hint of panic. As he said, the woman's figure was no longer on the screen. Feeling slightly relieved, we both sat back down. At that moment, my colleague suddenly whispered lowly, "Don't move, stay still." I almost reflexively froze. Our eyes were firmly fixed on the screen as my colleague continued to whisper, "Absolutely do not turn around." As I puzzledly watched the screen, I was horrified to discover, in the screen's reflection, besides our faces, there was a woman's face peeking at us. Minutes later, the woman muttered a few words to herself and then quickly left. Only when my colleague finally said, "It's okay now," did I dare to carefully turn around, finding no one there. We hurried out of the back room, and my colleague couldn't help expressing his fear. "This place is too weird." I had no words in response. Just then, I froze again, and as my colleague followed my gaze to the surveillance screen, the woman reappeared, staring straight into the camera with her mouth open, revealing a bone-chilling smile. It was at that moment we realized that this convenience store at night might truly hide some secrets unknown to us. I once worked the night shift at a security company in Boston, USA. My main job was to ensure the safety of workers at the noisy road construction sites. One day, I was assigned to a narrow street that was being used temporarily due to emergency water pipe repairs. This street was almost devoid of traffic at night, which I particularly liked as I preferred to work in such a quiet environment, allowing my thoughts to wander freely while I daydreamed. That night, the task was relatively easy, just making sure no vehicles mistakenly entered the construction site. I was the only one on duty, as my colleagues weren't around. I familiarized myself with the surrounding area and made a note of the nearest restroom and vending machine. Then, with a glowing red signal baton in hand, I stationed myself at a crossroads where I could see in all directions, thinking I would just stay here until dawn. In the first hour, a couple of cars passed by but didn't come near the site. After a while, as I watched a few office workers who might have had a drink and the last bus commuters go by, the surroundings became eerily quiet. All pedestrians and vehicles vanished, and the houses one by one extinguished their lights inside. Just as I started to mutter lazily to myself, I heard a deep voice. Turning towards the direction of the voice, I saw a manhole cover inside the fence had been opened. The atmosphere felt odd, and the silhouette by the sewer caught me by surprise. My watch showed it was 2:30 in the morning, a time when no one should have been around. I approached slowly and noticed the person's expression was off. His mouth was wide open, staring blankly at the sewer entrance, and though he was smiling, it gave off a chilling vibe. Tentatively, I held up the red signal baton, its light flickering on the man's face, but he seemed utterly unresponsive to my approach, immobile and fixated on the manhole cover. In this unsettling atmosphere, fear began to grip me. Just then, a passing car's bright headlights illuminated the surroundings. The driver appeared not to notice anything amiss, but after the car lights faded, the person vanished in an instant. I ended up standing at the intersection until the sky lightened, but the person never reappeared. Before dawn, I checked the sewer with the morning shift to confirm that there was nobody inside. However, ever since that night, every time I see a manhole cover on the ground, I can't help but feel a sense of unease. I had just started working the night shift at a convenience store, a branch of a chain located about a 20-minute bike ride from my home in California. Since the store was far from any train station and not in a residential area, there were very few customers late at night. That quiet routine was shattered one night. The work was actually simple, much like a warehouse employee, focusing on restocking the shelves. I always enjoyed this relaxed working atmosphere until one night when a suspicious figure suddenly appeared outside, giving me an ominous feeling. I knew nothing about this person's appearance or age. I only knew that every night, a dark figure would linger around the store. I theorized that this might be some vagrant or someone else looking to break into the store to steal. So, I stayed alert, trying to distract myself with restocking. Then one day, just like any other ordinary night, I was busy working when I suddenly felt a strange sense of disharmony. I was used to nights without customers, but the atmosphere today was different. This sneaky person, who usually only roamed outside, had actually come in. Strictly speaking, he didn't come into the main shop area but had slipped into the back warehouse. He had snuck in at some point and was moving around in the warehouse. To avoid being discovered, I tiptoed into the dimly lit warehouse and reached out to turn on the light. But just then, I heard him muttering as if searching for something. I was almost petrified, his sinister silhouette shrouded in darkness and dust, indistinct and emanating a non-human aura. That spine-chilling figure was mumbling to the floor stacked with cardboard boxes. "Not here. Not here." Suddenly, his hunched figure in the dark froze for a moment, then slowly turned to look at me. "Where is my face?" I nearly screamed when I looked. He had no face. More accurately, he had no head at all. Dangling from his neck was a bright red, indescribable object. I immediately turned on the light, forcing my stiff body to move, and fled back into the main area of the store. After that incident, I felt such terror that I ultimately decided to quit the job at the convenience store.